Hi everybody!
With the first Sky remake freshly out and a teaser trailer for the second remake appearing at the end of the game, speculation has well and truly been sparked as to what's next for Nihon Falcom amongst its rabid and devoted fanbase. Falcom's president has also been incredibly upfront about 2026 being a year where multiple releases are on the table. So, as your resident Falcom expert, it's my duty to inform you as to what's likely to drop next. For this video, chapters will be used so you can jump around, ultimately culminating in what I think is the most likely to happen. So, let's get to the candidates. First up, we have to discuss Kaino Kiseki 2, or what is likely to be labeled as Trails Beyond the Horizon 2. Given the first Beyond title ended in a cliffhanger as massive as the ones found in Sky First Chapter, Trails of Cold Steel 1, and Trails of Cold Steel 3, I think it's time for Falcom to stop collectively edging its fanbase and actually finish the story. Clearly, Trails Beyond the Horizon 2 will not be the final story in the franchise, but we are supposedly in the end stages of the planned storyline. However, Kondo-san has said that ever since Trails of Cold Steel 4, so it's kind of a boy who cried wolf situation here. I'm starting to not believe him when he says this. Plus, we know Kondo does love distorting the truth to misdirect the fanbase. He kept doing this for Sky Second Chapter's remake, and we now know that's happening. So yes, that is a teaser for later in the video. But Trails Beyond the Horizon came out for the Japanese market in 2024, and will drop in January of next year for the West, so there is the possibility of this being one of the titles Kondo is referring to. However, that doesn't cover Falcom's home market, which is still their core fanbase, meaning the sequel is more than likely to be the next game up. There's still reasonable doubt for this one, so we'll circle back to this at the end of the video, where I rank each game from least likely to most likely to happen. So let's get to the second title now. I'm not really sure what to call this next game, since some people have called it Tokyo Xanadu 2, others have called it Kyoto Xanadu, and Falcom themselves have only called it Xanadu Next. So we have a lot of wiggle room here. I think it's very debatable if this game will end up being slotted next, given the franchise isn't all that big even within Japan. However, newish IPs or IPs that have only recently seen reboots are always more refreshing than retreading the same old ground. So I am really excited for whatever this new Xanadu project ends up being called, and yeah, I still have to finish the last one, as I've had such a stop-start relationship with it over the years. It's also not like I think the game is bad, far from it. I just keep getting distracted by life. Maybe I should make that a goal, to finish and review Tokyo Xanadu by the end of next year. But we've known about this project for a very long time, thanks to Falcom dropping a whole bunch of teasers and general water cooler talk in the JRPG community. So if anything, this is one that I think is probably the furthest along, given how long it's been in the oven. But I'll be honest, I don't think this one is the most likely, so let's put that in the maybe pile for now. For my third prediction, I think Ys 5's remake very well could be the next game we see Falcom put out. It'd make a ton of sense too, given Kondo has stated numerous times in many interviews that he wants to remake this game before he retires. Also, given we have no idea when Ys 11 could come out, I think this may be an option, considering remakes don't always require quite as much work as a brand new title would. Given remakes can borrow from existing assets like scripts, models, or other things. With Falcom, that may be less of a consideration, given they reuse assets for almost every single game of theirs, which isn't me knocking them, that's just a fact. This reuse of assets also allows them to focus more on locking in the mechanics and getting the games to be less glitchy than the modern AAA slop we find. I also feel like revealing Ys 5 ahead of Ys 11 could be a real gotcha moment on Falcom's part, since most people would be expecting the 11th mainline entry instead of a remake. But people also said the same thing regarding the Sky remake, since most thought we wouldn't revisit Liberl again until the franchise was concluded. So it would almost be some nice mirroring to revisit an older Ys game that's beloved by many, instead of releasing a brand new entry. Before I get to why I don't think we're going to see Ys 11 as one of the many games expected from Falcom next year, please do hit the subscribe button, as it would really help me out. Thank you. So why do I feel like it won't be Ys 11? Sure, we had the 10th game release in 2023 for Japan, meaning it'll have been a 3-year gap between wholly new entries. However, given Ys 10 Proud Nordics is so new, and I really don't think Falcom is going to be all that interested in revisiting Ys so quickly, unless of course it ends up being the remake of 5 I mentioned in the previous point. Also, I fear releasing so many Ys games so close together will not only burn out Japanese audiences, but Western ones too. Given Ys is one of Falcom's flagship titles, I think they're going to protect it just a little bit. So, let's move on. So next up, we have Trails in the Sky Second Chapter Remake. This has been confirmed to exist, not just by Kondo, but also by the trailer at the end of Trails in the Sky First Chapter. Also, if you're new to Trails, I implore you to not watch that trailer if it comes across your feed, as it's going to spoil all of the major twists for the first game. We also know this remake is a high priority thanks to Kondo stating he doesn't want fans to be waiting as long as they did between the original releases of Sky First and Second Chapters, so it makes sense as to why we might see the sequel in under a year. But I realistically think under 6 months is pushing things, especially if Falcom have multiple games ready to go next year, though I will admit I can see this one being really close to the top of the list. Now that we've got the games I think could potentially be released, let's explore the order I think these are going to appear from least to most likely. So, the one I think we can pretty much punt off the list right away is a brand new Ys game. As I stated earlier in the video, it just has a bit too much going against it to be all that likely. Do I want it to happen? Yes, because I want to see how Falcom will continue refining the new gameplay style established in 10. So I just don't see it happening, though I could certainly see a remake of 5 releasing next year. Given it'd be kind of cool to see Sky First Chapter Remake to close this year out, then Ys 5's remake closing out next year. But I don't see Ys 5 being towards the bottom of the card. I think that's the third most likely to happen, so after Ys 11 making an appearance, we have the Xanadu game. The franchise is just too small for it to be a priority, so it slots in at the second least likely to happen. The third least likely to happen goes to Ys 5, as it just makes a ton of sense for it to happen in the next year or so. After that, I think Sky Second Chapter will come out probably in the mid to late portion of next year, and will get a worldwide release date just like its predecessor. Which leaves us with Trails Beyond the Horizon 2 being the most likely to come out at some point next year. When it comes out is still up for debate, but it wouldn't surprise me if it ends up being the game Falcom puts out in the early stages of next year, just to shut the fans up. I think it is debatable, however, if it'll see a worldwide release at launch, but more than likely not, even if that would be in the best interest of the fans. So, what order do you see Falcom releasing these potential games, and how many do you think we'll end up getting? Do let me know in the comments. I think we're probably getting 3 games. One in the winter, one in the late spring to early summer, and a final one in mid to late September, like we usually do. Anyways, want more of my Falcom content? Check out one of my videos appearing on screen in a moment, and until next time, keep blazing that trail.